Hey guys, how's it going and welcome back. So we've got a first act M2A-110 guitar amplifier. It's a 10 watt amplifier by First Act. Sometimes you get these things in like guitar amp package deals at Walmart, for example. You can get, well, you used to be able to get them on Amazon, no longer available though. And you can pick them up used easily enough on Reverb and eBay, you know. Anyway, so I saw this thing over at Value Village today. Actually, there was two of them, and they were both exactly the same. And it's like, well, I only need one, and the other one wouldn't power up anyhow. At least no LED light where the overdrive button is. So it was kind of like, should I take both or just take one? So I just took the one. Anyway, so we've got master, gain, overdrive, bass, mid, and treble, and the gain is only active when you're on the overdrive channel, but when you're on clean, of course, it's not active, and you just have volume, bass, mid, treble, and of course the EQ will share itself between the clean and the overdrive. So I've got my my Epiphone Les Paul Special 2 out, and we're going to be on the bridge pickup to start with, and we'll just roll through it and see what the clean tones are like. Now this thing does get loud fast. It's kind of like a reminder of Marshall amps. They get really loud really quick. And there's only a 6-inch speaker in this thing. But anyways, I did take it all apart, cleaned all the dust bunnies out if there was any, and of course, you know, cleaned the pots with deoxit, and because there was a little bit of scratchiness on one or two pots and the switch was a little scratchy. Now everything's nice and clean and smooth the way it should be. So anyways, let's give this thing a little spin. Pickup. So it gets a little fuzzy there. So let's turn this thing up to 9 o'clock. Both pickups. Neck. So it gets pretty broken up right around 9 o'clock, so if you want to keep it nice and clean, you got to keep it down. Okay, so let's just let's put the gain at 0, turn the overdrive on. Now the volume will still be active, of course. That's pretty raunchy. Back. Alright, so let's bring that gain back around 9. Bring the volume up about 9. Both pickups. Neck. 12 o'clock on the gain. Full gain. Without turning it up much, which you really don't need to. It can get pretty raunchy pretty quick. Even on the clean channel, she'll give a real natural breakup pretty fast once you get her up around 9 o'clock on the dial. And it still has a long way to go around the dial yet, you know. And so yeah, driving this thing full out, it's going to be a little on the nasty side. And that gain can get really crispy, if you know what I mean. So anyways, let's try this on a Strat and see how this thing acts with single coil pickups. These humbuckers are always a little more dirtier, of course. And they're much higher output too. So I've got my standard Strat, which has my Alnico 4 pickups in it that I put in this thing a long time back. And so we're going to try it out and see how things go. Let me just make sure she's all tuned up. So for what I paid for this thing, which wasn't a whole lot, it was actually a really great deal. So I figured, well, I can't really say no to that, you know. I mean, It was a good deal. So, to answer anybody's question right now, no, I am not keeping this amp. I got way too many amps as it is. But I thought, well, you don't see much in the way of first act stuff on the internet as it is. And the stuff is out there even in pawn shops. You know, so it's kind of like, well, should you buy one? Are they any good? What do they sound like? And that was kind of my method to my madness on this one. Alright, so start at the bridge. Bridge and middle. Alright, let's turn that dial up to 9 o'clock. I think we can go higher. Let's go 11. Bridge and middle. Okay, so let's bring her back to 9 o'clock. Let's turn that overdrive on. Start her at 0. Middle and bridge. Gain up. Let's just toast her right up to 12. Bridge and middle. Middle. Middle and neck. Neck only. Alright, let's go for the 12 o'clock run. Let's start the gain at 0. me straight to 12 o'clock. Alright, for giggles, let's put the game full on. Okay, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. Alright. Well, it stays a lot cleaner on a Strat, obviously. Lower output single coils, even with the gain channels. It's pretty good. I think I kind of like the humbuckers more for the distorted side or overdriven side. At least until you get to, you know, a little bit too much gain either way. But anyways, as far as the rest of this amp goes, looking at the back side, we have audio input so you can jam along with your iPod or MP3 player type of deal. Headphone jack as well for private listening, which might be a good idea if you're going to run a lot of gain. Better to kill your own ears than everybody else's in the house. It's like just a normal everyday computer power cord that just plugs into the back of this thing. You know, so it's kind of pretty convenient. So if you're going to store the amp anywhere, you know, at least you don't have a cord hanging out the back. Mind you, makes it easy if you lose the cord. Might kind of suck there, but you can get these cords anywhere anyhow. So if you ever lose your cord, they're easy to come by. Anyhow, I've seen a few of these up for sale for about 40-50 bucks Canadian. And this is like, you know, Reverb, eBay, that sort of thing, right? And I don't know, I think they're probably worth about an easy 50 bucks. I mean, they're a great little starter type of amp. You know, you got a 6-inch speaker, you got a good sized cabinet to woof things out. There are ported holes in the front. They're about, well, roughly a little over an inch. And then, of course, your back side, it's got a port in the back as well to let some of that sound and air travel through so it's not over suffocated the speaker. Pretty basic. I mean, anybody can run this amp. You know, it's just a matter of, you know, pushing the button for overdrive, take it out for no overdrive. Gain, like I said, is totally independent with the overdrive, so it won't do anything on clean channel. The volume, though, does work with the gain, and it has to for the overdrive. Otherwise, volume is on its own for clean. And you can change around your bass mid treble, and, you know, it does have a little bit of bass in it for a guitar amp. I find it actually does throw out a little bit of bass, so that's good. You always need a little bit anyways. But I think for what they're selling them for, it's probably worth it, you know, at least as a good beginner amp anyhow. Get you going and get you some tunes. But otherwise, not too shabby, I guess. Don't know what they sold for new, but if they were more than 50 bucks, probably would stay clear of it. You can get yourself a nice little orange amp for, you know, like $100, $130, right? So I wouldn't pay anywhere near 100 bucks for this. So I have no idea what these amps sold for new in Canada, but they are going even on eBay for upwards to 50 bucks, you know, for a used one. And a couple of those were in really rough shape. You know, if I gave the cabinet a wipe down with a damp cloth and, you know, dried it up, it would be kind of like in absolute cherry condition. You know, there's, you know, no damage to this thing anywhere, you know, other than one little spot on the side here, which isn't bad. It's just a little scratch, but otherwise she's pretty mint. And cleaning up the pots and the switch was no big deal with some deoxit spray you know, and it wasn't that bad, but, you know, I figured, well, might as well do them all while I got it apart. But, and the 6-inch speaker, it's okay, you know, it's not too bad. I mean, this is an amp that is geared for strict beginners, you know, so definitely a kid's amp. Probably not a good amp for a teenager that's learning guitar. They're going to want a little bit more quality for their punch even as a beginner, but definitely, you know, I'd probably say, you know, age bracket guitar player, I'd probably put this with anywhere between a 5-year-old to maybe a 12, 13-year-old tops, and then after that you're going to definitely have to upgrade to something else. You know, I mean, the sound quality is not half bad, you know, especially on that clean side, it's not bad, but it does break up quick with humbuckers, but it stays really clean even at the higher volumes with the single coils. So, you know, I think in all the amp is more suited guitar-wise for something like a Telecaster or a Stratocaster. That's where I would probably say use this amp with to get the most clean out of it and probably the better portion of the punch without destroying the sound. Otherwise, you know, you do run that gain up past 12 o'clock, it starts to get really shrilly, especially with the Strat. It's definitely going to shrill out. And it will shrill out a bit too with the humbuckers, just not near as bad. You know, it'll keep some depth to it. I did play around with this thing a bit before cutting this video, so I've got a pretty good idea of its full potential there. But all in all, not too shabby, you know. As far as you people who like your star ratings, based on all the information I gave you, and if you use it within those limitations of that, I would probably say this amp is at least a 4 out of 5. You know, it's not perfect. That gain does get shrilly pretty quick past 12. And of course you do have the fact that it puts out a lot of power real fast, which means it's not going to be that controllable. It's kind of a lot like a Marshall. Marshall amps get out of control real quick, you know, before you're even done with even half the dial. But again, depends if you're running a Strat or humbucker guitar, how it's going to react that way. Definitely on a Strat, you're going to get higher volumes, you're going to get cleaner tone at higher volumes on the clean, whereas the humbucker guitar, as we've heard, starts to break up rather quickly on the clean channel and gets its own little natural overdrive stuff going. As far as noise level, you know, like static noise type of stuff, you know, hum and all that, it's pretty clean, you know. It's a pretty impressive little amp for what it is. So, anyways, that's where I'm with it, guys, and so I hope you enjoyed the video and you got some information. So if you're looking for one of these things for a beginner student, that is a way to go. Pawn shops pretty much always have these little first act amps kicking around, so you can, you know, be assured they have them. Just make sure you test them out really good first before you pay for them, to make sure, you know, the pots are running nice and clean with no static or dead spots, and you know that the overdrive switch is working the way it should with no static or dead spots. Otherwise you get yourself a good little amp and you're good to rock and roll. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.